In this video we'll talk about quadratic formula. Now quadratic formula, like complete the square, you can use to solve any quadratic. Now the difference between the two, completing the square usually involves a little more thinking, but the numbers are usually a little easier to work with. However, quadratic formula might be a little easier to think about since you can just use a formula, but it is a lot of arithmetic, a lot of potential to make mistakes, a lot of potential to flip signs, so just be careful when you're going through if you decide to use quadratic formula. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about the formula itself. So if you have a quadratic in standard form, so ax squared plus bx plus c, and that equals 0, that is the trick. You have to have it in this form. All of your quadratic expression equal to 0. If this is true, then your x is going to equal negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. It's basically the formalized version of what you're doing with complete the square. Now, when you have your example, you're basically going to plug in your coefficients, so there will be no x's on this side of the equation, just numbers. You're going to plug your a in under the radical, and at the bottom you're going to plug your c in under the radical. You're going to plug in your b at the very first spot and right under the radical. So let's take a look at an example. So I'm looking at it, it's already equal to 0. I have 3x squared plus 2x minus 4 equals 0. So this is telling me that a equal 3, b equal 2, and c equals negative 4. Be very careful with that negative sign. So x is going to equal negative b, so negative 2, plus or minus the square root of 2 squared, which is b, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is a negative 4, all divided by 2 times a, which is 3. Okay, now there's a lot of math going on here. We're going to go ahead and try and simplify a little bit. So x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4, and then we've got negative 4 times 3, so I guess 12 times, that'd be negative, or positive 48, so plus 48 over 6. Then I'm going to simplify underneath the radical a little more. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, looks to be 52, over 6. Now I'm looking at this 52. I know 52 is not a perfect square, so this is as far as I take it. That's as simplified as I'm willing to make it. You can run to your calculator. Remember, the plus or minus kind of bakes in the two possibilities, and that is as far as we're willing to take it. And there's quadratic formula.